Welcome back to the Pulse, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that has changed the way people think about love and connection, the five love languages.
That's right, guys. These love languages were introduced by Dr. Gary Chapman, explaining the different ways that people express and receive love. And let's be honest, understanding them can really make or break a relationship, whether that's a friendship, whether that's, a marriage, significant other, or even understanding how to love children and how they want to be loved.
Like Diana was saying, we need to learn to explore tools and perspectives to strengthen our relationship. And what better way than understanding our partner's love language? So let's break them down. The first love language is words of affirmation. This is when someone feels most loved through spoken or written words, compliments, encouragements, and verbal appreciation. When you use,
Exact.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're on a roll, so you can continue if you need to.
Um, Individuals that love words of affirmation are their days light up, right? It's like your words are like shots of espresso for them. So why not show someone how much you appreciate them through verbal communication? When we stop using words of affirmations for individuals that love words of affirmations, we turn off their light. We tend to turn off their light. So let's be very considerate of how we speak to people who enjoy words of affirmation as their main love language.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we don't realize that, a good morning message can go a long way for someone who enjoys words of affirmation. For you, it might be nothing. You can just wait to speak to this person. But for others, a simple word of like appreciation, of like, hey, beautiful, or hey, I hope you have an amazing day. You're doing great can go a very, very long way in a way that maybe a friend likes to be appreciated or your significant other likes to be seen. After that, we do have acts of services. These are people that that say or feel that actions speak louder than words. They feel most valued when somebody helps lighten their load. For example, you get home from work and dinner is cooked on the table, or there's errands that they needed support running, running errands for someone, fixing something around the house, taking out the trash, doing little acts that may be insignificant for others, but for them, they mean a lot, whether it's something small or something big.
And then let's also take note that people who love acts of service don't enjoy broken promises. If you sit there and you agree to do something, make sure you take your time and you do whatever that service is that you're offering your partner. Because nine times out of 10, if you don't, they're going to start looking at you differently. And that trust that they built with you over time may start to diminish. There's nothing wrong with helping your partner, especially if they love acts of service. Uh,
That
so
is
moving,
true.
uh, you have anything
No,
else on
continue.
that? Or?
No, no, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you touched on like what can also make or break. Like it's not even just about knowing the love languages, but it's also about understanding that certain things can affect a person more than others based on their love language of preference.
Yeah, this was a love language that. Oh, so it stops at 4 minutes. This was a love language that I wasn't really aware of during my time, and I took it for granted. And it led to a lot of discussions and disagreements. So just just make sure that if you are in a relationship with someone who loves acts of service, that you are true to your word. We'll move into the third love language, receiving gifts. Now, it's not about the materialism, right? It's about the thoughtfulness. A small, meaningful gift can say, I was thinking of you. And again, it doesn't have to be something crazy. Someone who loves receiving gifts, they're not asking you to go out there and buy them a Bugatti so they can wake up the next morning in one. It can be something as simple as a card, something as simple as flowers. If you want to go the extra mile, go pick those flowers yourself. Put a story behind the gift that you're giving individuals who love receiving gifts. when you add a moment to that or a special memory to that gift, it tends to resonate within that person and it lasts longer.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think you hit an important part in terms of like, it's not the cost of the gift that matters, but the thought of the gift. And this is a really important one that I think it's important to make sure that we're not overdoing with children. Because the last thing we want is to make them feel like there's a certain praise or gift required in order to show them love. Is making sure that we have that balance. But when we do talk about receiving gifts, we're talking about like, hey, like this person thought about me when they thought about purchasing me this item, whether it was a flower, whether they picked something themselves, they made a drawing, any little thing. Pay attention to those signs as well. Even with children, sometimes they come from school with drawings. You know, that might mean a lot to them. That might be a way that, and they give it to you. That might mean that that's the way that they want to be loved. They want to receive things.
Perfect.
So
Like
great point.
perfect example. Like whenever my daughters they bring me like a drawing from school and they're like, "Hey, Daddy, I drew this for you." The first thing I do is I purchase frames, and I have all the drawings that made for me special. I put them all in frames, and usually I have them hung up. I don't right now, but that's usually what I do just to show how much I appreciate them taking time out of their day and thinking of me, and it just lights them up, right? Um, let's see. Now, obviously, one of the areas where I was messing up, right, with giving gifts to my children was I was using it to buy them to help make certain situations go by smoother. 9 times out of 10, anytime they would have like a doctor's appointment, for example, I'd be like, "Hey, if you don't cry and we get through this session real quick, we can go buy you whatever toy you want." Not realizing the damage that I was causing to them because everything became I need a reward for something I accomplish. So you gotta
Mhm.
just be careful that we're not over gift giving, especially for children, because they don't understand the concept.
Yeah, just make sure that the thought behind it is actually a show. Remember, love languages are a show of appreciation to a person in the way that they want to be loved, not an expectation based on something that we want a person to do. So I'm glad that you went over that. Um, and the next we have quality time. I think this is a very, very common one in many relationships or many people like quality time. These people, I'm sorry, these are partners who want undivided attention, not half scrolling on your phone attention, and real intentional presence, and not just being um, present. So you can be next to someone, but that doesn't mean that you're present, that your presence is actually there when you're scrolling on your phone or things like that. So people that enjoy quality time want time set aside for them to where like you're making it seem like, hey, like this is actually what I'm doing right now. I'm focused on you. Let's talk about whatever you want. Let's watch a movie. Let's go have dinner. But this time is quality time with this person.
And it's like, hey, when you go on your first date, right, you give that person your undivided attention. Just because you spend more time with them or you're in a relationship with them doesn't mean you change those, right? Like
Mhm.
someone who enjoys quality time, they're there for you. They want to be around you. They
Yeah.
want to spend time with you. They want your full undivided attention. So we need to
Yeah.
learn to put that phone down, right? We have to start giving people who are partners that enjoy quality time that time that they need to function. All these love languages, when attended to properly, it creates a very strong, loving bond between you and whoever it is you're having that relationship with. And this goes across all types of relationships. It's just not marriage. It's just not girlfriend, boyfriend. This
Hmm.
includes your kids. This includes families. This
Friendships.
includes friendship. Heck, this can go as far as your animals. Let's be honest. A lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of like people that have dogs and cats. Every cat, every dog have their own personalities, right? Just like they have their own
Yeah.
love languages. There's some dogs that love to be pet. There's others that don't want nothing to do with you. So love languages is so deep. The more you dive into love language, the more you see the application of it in real time in real life.
The more you understand like the people that you choose to surround yourself with, right? I think in life we don't grow up with a manual like, hey, this is how you're supposed to love, or this is how you're supposed to be loved back. You know, as a millennial, I definitely didn't grow up with that type of manuals. And it's really been like diving in through my experiences, you know, past negative experiences, good experiences, to really hone in and learn to love myself, in order to understand how I want to be loved. It literally took for experiences to happen for me to understand, like, hey, like, I didn't really like how that made me feel, right? Or how this person was loving me. Like, I didn't like that. And maybe that costs, you know, a lot of conflicts and situations, relationships with friendships and stuff like that, because you're not receiving love in the way that you wanted to receive love from whoever this it may be. So learning to understand it, learning to understand yourself is really, really important. Understanding that love language isn't, I'm sorry, that love languages matter, and how they affect your day in and day out relationships, will get you a long way.
And you're the one that also made me aware, right? Your body's the first thing to tell you when something just doesn't feel right, right?
Mhm.
So it's like your body is it's like a lightning rod for energy, feelings. Just listen to what your body tells you when you're in certain relationships. If you're not feeling that you're receiving the love that you deserve, then to make the decision that you need to make sure that you put yourself first and that your happiness overall is the number one thing.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah. Like friendships, relationships should not make you anxious, should not make you feel out of place. If anything, they should bring comfort to you. And that's, I think, how love languages supports in those areas is it allows one, you to know how you want to be loved, but it also allows you to understand how somebody else may potentially want to be loved. Obviously, it's best to ask this person, hey, like, what's your love language? Rather than just assuming, because we often make the mistake of loving others in the way that we want to be loved. And that's the biggest, I would say, opportunity when it comes to relationships, friendships, love languages, children, is we're loving people in the way that we want to receive loved without thinking like, hey, maybe this is not how they want to be loved. Maybe they want to be loved in a different way. So, you know, really good thing
no,
to kind of like dive in, ask questions, get to know the people that you surround yourself with.
correct. I feel like a lot of times nowadays, there's no communication in relationships, right? The only thing that you communicate is maybe things that you like to eat, intimacy, and stuff like that. But we don't take deep dive into each other's minds, right? We don't sit there and pick out like, oh, this is what they find important. A lot of people don't even have conversations on their love languages. You may know your love language, but you rarely ever know the love language of the person you're with.
Yeah. And I think that's why, too, if you think about it, there's always at least two love languages that we're strong on, just because sometimes you really can't get one of them, right? Look at us, for example. My love language is quality time, right? And physical touch. But because of the distance, physical touch comes every, you know, it doesn't come as often as like it being my love language I would like, but we're making it work, and then we spend a lot of quality time together, and we make effort to making things work, because again, I feel like every person has at least two that they're very heavy on. And you know, it's important to always try and make sure that we're getting in through at least one.
And since you just touched on the fifth love language there,
I did.
physical touch. For someone, holding hands, hugging, or even just sitting close together communicates love more than any words could, right? Physical touch is my number one love
Mhm.
language. I feel that it's something that I need in order to function. And it was something that I learned at a very young age, right? My family, they've always been very loving, and they showed their love through hugs, kisses, and obviously my second one is words of affirmation. Excuse me. So growing up, those were the two main love languages that I took. What's the word that I became attached to, and they have
Hmm.
followed me ever since I was little. And it's like, man, when I'm not getting those languages broadcasted to me in the manner that I want, it's like I feel like a whole nother. I feel like a zombie at times, right? Um, it's like you just like, thank you, huh? It's like it's not what
Yeah.
I need, right? But I understand that you're trying, but it's like, man, it's crazy once someone starts fulfilling your love languages, the difference in how you act and how you move become.
I love that. I mean, physical touch is one of mine too. I feel like it's my second one as well, but for you, it's your first one. So, what would you tell? Sorry, and I'm throwing you a curveball. But what would you tell a person that can't receive physical touch, right? And in our circumstance,
Oh,
in
like
a
our
long distance
circumstance.
relationship, yeah, in a long distance situation, like how have we been able to overcome that? Because like there's also that talk that, oh, I wouldn't date somebody that is not compatible with my love languages, right? But like I said, that's why there's one or two love languages that we all have. So we find ways to love the person in the way that they want to be loved. But what happens when maybe we can't meet one of them in the moment? Like, how do we navigate through those things?
So I think in our situation, just because we kind of like have an understanding and we've communicated our love languages, I think that because we're so understanding of maybe the distance and even like the time situation is a big difference. It's a 3 hour difference between us, right?
Right.
So I know that quality time is your number one, right? Physical touch is your second. I can't fill your cup up, right, for physical touch
Right.
just because of the distance. But I do understand that quality time is something that you hold
It's
number one.
important. Hmm.
So in our situation, phone calls, right? Making sure I'm
Yeah.
trying to give you as much attention as I can as possible. Even this whole like think about it, this podcast, right? If you think about this podcast is probably the new best quality time for us, right? Because now it gives us more stuff to talk about. It allows us to spend more time together talking and planning about what we want to put out there for individuals who may be in situations like us. I think the podcast has been like one of the newest blessings for us because it's
Yeah.
allotting us a lot of more time together. But outside of that, you have phone calls. We have a Discord. For anybody that doesn't know what Discord is, it's kind of like a social app where you can invite people into your room. We do movie nights. If we can't do a movie on Discord, we synchronize our tablets to start a movie or show together. You know what I'm saying? Like we spend a lot of time
Trying
trying
to figure out
to
how to we,
to
yeah.
fill the cup for all the other languages, knowing that there's certain languages that we won't be able to fulfill. We pour more into the other ones to try to make up for the one that we can't do at the moment.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
true. Because I
I
feel
think,
like
yeah. Sorry.
with words of affirmation, you know that that one's important to me too. Like I said, we all have two or three. Sometimes we have all of them, but I feel like when we can't fulfill right now currently physical touch as often as we would want to, whether that's a hug because we had a long day, that's a cuddle because we're feeling down, like we fulfill through words of affirmation, and just consistently like uplifting each other and bringing something positive into our lives. And then I do really appreciate like this the podcast and like us pushing each other in a different way. But again, bringing us together closer, even at that. And then also all the efforts that are made to like quality time, whether it's getting me to watch anime, um, and different things. But yeah, I think it's really important to learn how to navigate that through your partner. But I think you can only get there through communication. if you're not speaking to your friends, if you're not speaking to your partners, to your significant others, and talking about how you're feeling, then it's really hard to navigate through these things when we can't fulfill one thing, and being able to shift to something else. So communication is really, really important.
And
Maybe one
then
of our next topics.
also too, if you, let's say if your partner doesn't openly come to you and tell you, "Hey, these are my love languages," if you pay attention to how they react to certain things, it kind of, they we always give hints and clues as to what our love languages are, right?
Hmm.
Another form of understanding love languages is what are their toxic traits, right? Everyone has a toxic trait. Your toxic trait is always the opposite of your love language. And not many people know that, right? Because we get so caught up in arguing about the toxic trait. If we sit down and take time to kind of like dissect certain situations that weren't good and things that our individuals do that we may not deem as nice or attractive, do your research. What are the opposite traits of that toxic trait, right? Um, for example, oops, trying to think of one. One second, sorry.
Somebody
So
that's consistently being toxic about gift giving. I think if you're consistently getting gifts from a person, that's kind of telling you they like getting gifts.
correct,
Yeah.
right. And again, like we were saying earlier, like a lot of times we try to love people in the way we want to be loved. So
Yeah.
there's more than enough hints in a relationship to kind of give you an idea of what it is that that certain individuals love languages are. So we just gotta learn to be patient, pay attention. I know it's very easy for us to want to argue, right? But it's like let's find the positive narrative in whatever the situation is. We spend so much time focusing on the negative that we don't realize the things that are going on that are hurting our partner.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And then also like diving into understanding that again, it's not just for relationships that love languages are good. Well, yeah, relationships, but not just romantic relationships. It's friendships, it's children. Understanding children, I think, has been one of my favorite things that I've learned from love languages from Gary. It's understanding and observing how children start showcasing their love languages, right? I think you have one that loves physical touch and the other one who loves quality time. And just being able to kind of observe those things to me, it's so it's like a gift because it's learning to love children in the way that they want to be loved and knowing that every person is unique and is growing to become their own person, um, with a parent understanding them, which is I don't think something that we've all been privileged with. It's a blessing. So just make sure that you're doing your research, you're asking questions, you're getting to know um, the people that you have around you that you love and how they want to be loved. This book, I highly recommend it to anyone. Children, no children, relationship, no relationship. They have even a singles edition. It's a short book on Audible. It's only 5 hours. But I think even if you just want to read the book, like the actual book itself, it's a small book. It's not a big book,
Mhm.
but it's a small book with a really big gift and a lot of information that you can utilize to improve your relationships.
And to kind of touch on what you're saying about children and watching children grow, uh, we have to change the manner and in which we raise our children nowadays, right? Growing up, there was things that we didn't enjoy as kids, but I think we become a victim of our circumstances, right? And we think that raising our children the same way we were raised is a good thing, even though we knew as kids, like, no, this is not right. We still emulate the same manner in which we were raised on our children. We need to start spending more time reading and understanding and gaining knowledge, right? Uh, you know, being physical with, or let's say being negatively physical with a child that enjoys physical touch. Do you know how much trauma that would cause that poor child? Because that child wants to be held, hugged, but because you may put your hands on them to try to correct, what's the word? Try to correct
A behavior.
their behavior. It makes them feel unsafe around you. So
Yeah.
we have to take time understanding these love languages and implementing the proper form of behavior correction for kids, because these traumas, these childhood traumas, they're no joke. They last forever. A lot
Yeah.
of adults nowadays that have trauma, anytime they go and talk to a specialist, the first thing the specialist tries to do is pick apart your childhood life, right? We are we are creating trauma in these little kids who are new to life, right? They don't understand right from wrong. So it's how can we do better as parents to help make the transition from childhood into adulthood easier for our children? We have to change the ways in which we react, in which we try to correct behaviors. Now, I know there's old timers and there's people, oh, there's nothing wrong with a good butt whooping. No, there's a lot wrong with a good butt whooping, right? As adults, I'm pretty sure you can sit there and pinpoint times in your childhood life where dang, that was a heck of a beatdown I got for doing something so minuscule, right? So let's change how we process and look towards raising our kids, right? Let's find a better way. Everything doesn't have to be through verbal abuse. Everything doesn't have to be through a physical abuse. These are things that you're teaching your kids that it's okay to endure, right? If you have a daughter like I do, and I'm sitting there and I'm constantly putting my hands on my daughter, I'm constantly sitting there and verbally abusing my daughter. What kind of man do you think my daughter's gonna look for when
Yeah.
she gets older, right? She's gonna look for things that seem familiar or things that she didn't know better that she grew up with around her, right? So she's gonna
Yeah.
look for someone who projects or emulates uh those same mannerisms. Vice versa, same with the boy, right? So we have to do a better job of creating a stable foundation for kids, and understanding love languages is probably the best, if not first step to doing that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that what people need to understand is that childhood traumas do come out maybe at an older age, and you don't know how much it'll affect through life. And it's not as we until we go through experiences that we start like diving into like, hey, like, why is this my reaction? Why am I behaving this way? What could have caused this in the past that could have affected me. And it's not until you do the work, whether it's therapy, whether it's learning, self growth, different self development readings, that you learn how to overcome those things. But yeah, to your point, make sure that you're not like ruining love languages for people and causing trauma because maybe we're being toxic with the way that they want to be loved, and now they're afraid to even seek love in any manner.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you want, we can move into the next portion.
The next portion.
Yeah, the next segment. Why it matters.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, so here's the big question, right? Why do these love languages matter so much, right? A lot of it has to do with having proper communication, because when miscommunication happens, that we show in our love language. Or I'm sorry, let me because miscommunication happens, and when we show in our love language. Oh my goodness, what is this? Mis-
I think what he's trying to say is
Oh,
it
okay, I see.
matters
Yeah.
You got it. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically, the reason it matters so much is kind of like how we were touching, right? If we're showing love in our own love language instead of our partners, it creates difficult times, right? It creates arguments. It may create separation. It might cause problems like trust issues, right? When we don't take the time to understand our partner's love language, we're not fulfilling them in the way that they want to be fulfilled. Example, if like Diane was saying, like if you're buying your partner gifts, but their love language is quality time, they're still gonna feel neglected, right? They're thankful you gave them the gift, but it's like, bruh, I don't want the gift. I want you. I want you. You know, like I want your time. We
Yeah.
wasted money on gifts. We could have used that money to go spend time at a park. You know, we could have went to a movie together. We could have held hands. We could have felt 16 again. We could have been at the movies making out, watching a movie we don't even care about. Right? It's uh it's very important to understand your partner or your friends or whatever, whoever it is that you're having this relationship with, understanding their love language.
Yeah, it really helps in, like you said, in making sure that there's no miscommunication. Understanding love languages also helps avoid resentment in relationships and friendships. And it helps you understand your person a little bit more. Like, hey, and it might help you learn about them a bit more and like why they want to be loved the way that they want to be loved. Because it tells you a little bit about the person. So it's really, really important, and it matters.
Yeah, it's like imagine speaking two different languages, right? You speak in English, pero ellos te están hablando en chino. Like you're both saying "I love you," but one person doesn't hear it the same way they need to. And over time, like I said,
Correct.
that can create distance in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn to communicate and love in the same language. When you're doing it in
Yeah.
two different languages, it's very hard to find understanding between one another.
Yep. Just really getting to know your person and understanding what the love languages are, if that makes any sense. And then I think the other part is, as we move into the next section, is encouraging understanding, right, of a person's
Mhm.
love language. Understanding is important. Why? Because we don't want to also overdo it or overuse it. Understanding what their primary love language is, right? There's quizzes, there's things that you can do together to kind of like learn each other's love language, which is pretty cool. It's a bit of quality time in itself if you think about it, because you are spending time trying to get to know this person. Um, and then if it's not natural for you to like use that love language, it's just kind of practice it, right? Like act of service, maybe something that you're not used to. Like it could be as simple as doing the dishes, or you're not used to taking out the trash. They're very simplistic things. And like I said, if it's for a person that loves acts of service, those little things that you may not be used to, I mean, it takes time to build a habit, right? To build a habit, it takes about 21 days of doing things a certain way. Wouldn't you do that for a person you loved? Just little acts of service that can bring them a smile, that can make them feel a little bit whole, whether it's like, helping after dinner to wash the dishes, whether it's taking out the trash. We can get used to these things and just you'll observe like how your partner, your friend is expressing their love after that as well.
So I'm pretty sure the question right now, right, for everybody that's listening in, how do I actually apply this, right? Well, the first tip that I can give you is simple, right? Learn your partner's primary love language. You both can take an official quiz online or just pay attention to how each other express love. And by taking the time, like either you can do this separate, but let's say if your partner likes quality time, right? This would be a great way to spend quality time. Both of you sitting down, taking a love language quiz, right? And understanding each other better. Once there's understanding in a relationship, there's less frustration and more time to enjoy one another.
Second, just like I just mentioned, it's practice speaking their language, even if it's not natural for you, right? That's kind of what I just went over about, like kind of getting used to like taking out the trash or picking up the kids or, doing, for those that, for example, acts of service is their love language. Maybe do it once out of the week. Do the chores that might not be something big for you, but it's going to be something really, really big for them.
Exactly. True. Like, for example, I know Diana hates doing dishes. She'll cook. She'll cook. She'll do everything, but she is not touching a dish.
Oh, like
So,
doing the dishes.
in in a situation like that, I understand that. Sure, acts of service may not be her number one love language, but I know it's still a love language for her, right? It's just not held on a higher pedestal. So I'm
Correct.
not gonna sit there and watch the dishes pile up with Diana. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, look, don't worry, I'll take care of it. You do your thing in the kitchen. Go season that chicken. You feel me? I'll take care of the dishes. I got you, mama. What I'm saying? Like I said, just because we have one main one or one and two main ones doesn't mean that all of them don't apply. It's just all of them have
Yeah.
a different effect on the attitude and the perspective that that person's gonna have that day in life when you accomplish whatever it is per love language.
That, and I think it's the basically the effort that each love language is gonna take, right? I think that a good practice would be like numbering your love languages from one to five. One being the most important, five being the least important, and then you'll understand to see which ones need a little bit more effort. But like he said, it doesn't mean that acts of service is in there. It's just maybe it's not as often, but whenever she is cooking, let's help out with the dishes. Happy tummy after that meal.
And
But yeah,
I think the third tip too, right? Talk openly about it. Sometimes couples assume they know what their partner needs or their needs are, but they don't ask directly. What makes you
right.
feel loved? Let's start there. That could be an eye-opening conversation for both of you.
Yep.
What makes you feel loved? Right? How can I help you feel fulfilled in this relationship that we have? Whether it's friendship, whether it's a relationship with another partner, even with your kids. Kids are, they say, how's that saying go? The only people that tell the truth are kids and drunks, right?
Yep.
Asking your child, hey, how can I make you feel loved? Try it. See what responses you get. For those responses are
Yeah.
gonna tell you immediately what their love languages are, right? And once we get that information, let's implement steps to achieve what it is that child or that individual needs from you. It's one thing to hear it go in one ear and come out the other, right? And I think that my one of my biggest mistakes was I was always like, man, you're always nagging about the same thing over and over and over and over, not realizing that this person is telling me their love language.
Right.
And because I was so quick to be judgmental, so quick to react out of anger, I wasn't taking into consideration what this person was truly trying to tell me. And that's why I said a lot of times in emotional conversations that involve arguing, yelling, we need to learn how to say, hey, let's take a time out. Let's take 25 minutes to each other. Let's calm down, come back, and have this conversation properly. We get
Yeah.
so
No.
animated so quickly that that we lose proper communication amongst each other. Go ahead, Diane. What were you gonna say, Mama? Hello? Oh
Yes.
no.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm just taking it all in. Um. You know. And yeah, absolutely. I think that through our experiences, we start learning a little bit more of we start understanding love languages more, and we see things clearly as we go through life into like our past experiences and stuff. But at the end of the day, is love languages are tools, right? That we can use. They don't fix all the problems in relationships or friendships, but they do give us a framework to better connect it with those that you love, right? To understand them better, to see them better, to accept them, I would say too, for who they are and how they want to be loved. So I think that if we take the time to understand how our partners, our friends receive love, then we can create stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships that last longer, Um, because it takes a lot of understanding, a lot of work, a lot of effort um, to be in friendships and relationships.
And then the final tip, or one of the last tips: be
Mhm.
patient and flexible. Right? Love languages aren't a one-time thing, like Diana was saying. Needs also can shift with life changes, stress, or new experiences. So you have to keep checking in. Just because for the first 2 years of the relationship, Diana enjoyed quality time, based off the life stresses that you guys are going through, or whatever situations you have going on, that may change, right? If she's going through hard
Yeah.
times, that quality time might flip with physical touch. She may need more hugs. She may need more words of affirmation at some point in her life, depending on whatever situation she's going through. So you have to learn. It's like football, right? You call in a play, but what do? You give your quarterback a wrist full of different plays, because just because you call that play doesn't mean that that defensive situation is going to work in the way you think it is. You have to be able to call an audible in a relationship, just like you would in a football game, right? Understanding and communicating with your partner, with your child, with your friends helps keep you informed. Stay informed. Don't assume that because they like something one time, it means they're going to like it for the rest of their lives. And that's something that
Yep.
you learn to pick up with children, right? Right now, my oldest daughter, her number one thing is quality time. But if her situation doesn't allow her to get the quality time that she needs, she's going to call an audible herself. What other love language can I enjoy that's going to give me the same satisfaction as quality time?
Yeah. No, yeah. So true. I think that you hit a really important one, right? Love languages do change. It could change due to circumstances and situations. So it's important to always revisit them and continue to have open communication with your partners about those things.
No. Right? Actually, we're a good example, right? My number one is physical touch, but I've had to adjust, right, to find ways to accept love and feel fulfilled, because I know that I can't get that first love language.
Right.
So
And
like I
my
said,
number one is quality times. And it's normally for me, quality time, what quality time look like was spending time together, which included physical time together, right? Like going out to dinner and things like that.
mhm.
But it's had to shift a lot because we're long distance. But I think that it's still very fulfilling. It's just about how, like you mentioned earlier, how we fill in maybe other parts of the cup through the other love languages, since we can't fulfill maybe our top two. And I still think that because there's effort, there's communication, understanding, and compassion, it's easier to navigate through that versus if we're always, guarded and not open to understanding your partner.
Yeah, so whether you're in a relationship now or preparing for one, remember, it's not just about how you show love, but how your partner receives it, right? We have to
Mhm.
stop thinking about just ourselves. And I know that we preach about self love and stuff, and that you're always the number one priority, but we still have to find equal balance, right?
Mhm.
When you're in a partnership, I think a lot of the transition of solely focusing on you kind of shifts, right? And it becomes a we thing. So we have to understand that sometimes, in order for us to feel loved and care about ourselves, we have to find a partner or a relationship that allows us to do that, right?
Right.
So pay attention, be more be more willing to communicate
Mhm.
with your partner or your child or your friends. Be open. There's nothing wrong, and we say this all the time. There is nothing wrong with being vulnerable at times, even though it's a hard thing for me to do. And that's why she's laughing, because she knows I say it, but sometimes I don't do the things that I say, right? Because I haven't learned yet how to just let everything out. I'm more of a processing person, but it's okay to be vulnerable, right? As long as you have some sort of communication, it doesn't have to be in the there and then, but at some point you have to learn to communicate.
Right. No, I think that the biggest thing, just even, I mean, you said it great, right? But the biggest thing is patience, right? Having patience with your partner, because we're not taught these things, and we, like I said, we don't come with a manual. We don't come pre-programmed. It'd be nice, right, if we come, if we would come pre-programmed to do all these things, but we don't. The reason we become who we become is through the experiences that we go through, whether negative, whether positive, impactful relationships is what really they don't define us, but they show us the way of who we're becoming. And that's how love languages, entered my life. And it started with me loving myself and then understanding how others want to be loved.
All right.
So yeah, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to, uh, you know, say how you feel and pull that wall down, because the people that you're surrounding yourself with should be people that you want to keep around and you want to learn how to love and you want to learn how to care for. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Don't allow it to define you, but allow it to shape you.
Mhm. Exactly. But I mean, I think this has been a great one.
Yeah, and again, we would like to apologize. I don't know what happened. The original episode,
Yes.
unfortunately, didn't record audio, so we had to kind of sit here
Do
and
it
redo this for
again.
you guys. So,
Yep.
we thank you all for who was there in the original podcast. We appreciate you guys for showing up and
Mayo,
being.
thank you for coming up on the box as well, and asking your questions in regards, you know, um, that day. And we appreciate you. Appreciate the support and appreciate, the effort that you make to be there all the time as
Um,
well. I wish we can find that recording too, so that it could all be posted there. But I mean, the recording is there. There's just no audio. So it really would be, if we have great lip readers, that would be great. But I think she had her camera off, right?
yeah, she did.
Yeah, she had her camera off, so there's no lip reading. Um, but yeah, I think it was about children's love language as well,
I believe
that we
so.
talked
Yeah.
about. Yeah, so no, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in and allowing us a space to where we can communicate, be ourselves, learn from each other, and share a little bit of our experiences with you guys.
And like we always say, we're not professionals, right? But I think the first step to causing or to having great change in people and individuals around you is being able to talk about the stuff that nobody talks about. So I believe using our voices to put this information out there may allow people to start thinking about how they want to change and better love themselves and love others around them.
You never know who you're helping with you telling your story, or you offering some kind of knowledge that you've taken in, and you never know who it can touch. We never know what somebody is going through. So thank you guys again for this space, and just don't forget that knowledge is the pulse of progress, and it's a silent force moving us from where we are now to what's next.
Until next time, this was the post podcast, episode 5, love languages. Keep loving and keep learning, guys. We love and appreciate you all. See you next Sunday
Bye.
or this Sunday. Huh.
Yeah, this Sunday.